Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something pretty fascinating, a Wall Street Journal op-ed by Donald J. Trump and the immediate, unfiltered reaction it got from readers. We're going to break down the arguments from the article and then the counter-arguments from its own readers, all on the very same page.
So, right out of the gate, the article makes this really bold claim. It's positioning its tariff policies as the engine behind what it calls an American economic miracle. So how exactly is this case for a miraculous turnaround built? Well, first we're going to examine the core claims made in the op-ed. Then we'll dive straight into the reader reactions from the comments section right below it.
The op-ed kicks things off with what it calls its economic scorecard. It lays out a whole series of figures to argue that the economy isn't just getting better, it's actually booming, and that this is all happening in direct defiance of what a lot of mainstream experts predicted.
The author is really asserting this powerful combination of high growth and low inflation. It's a direct challenge to those predictions of stagflation, and it paints a picture of a pretty unprecedented economic environment.
You know, the case for this whole economic turnaround is really built on this rapid-fire succession of data points. So let's take a look at the key figures they're citing as proof. Okay, first up, the piece highlights a projected fourth-quarter GDP growth of over 5%. Now, this number is presented as a clear sign of an exceptionally strong economy, a level of growth that, according to the article, the country hasn't seen in many, many years.
Now, to push back against those fears of stagflation, high inflation and slow growth, that high GDP number is paired with a claim of very low inflation. The op-ed states that annual core inflation for the past 3 months has dropped to just 1.4%, which is way below most predictions.
And the argument doesn't stop there. It then pivots to deficit reduction. The central claim here is that tariffs have helped slash both the trade and budget deficits and have done it dramatically in a really short amount of time.
Okay, this next part is absolutely crucial. The article takes a direct shot at a core economic assumption about who actually pays for tariffs. Citing a Harvard Business School study, it argues that foreign groups are paying at least 80% of the cost. The idea is that this shields American consumers from feeling the pain. So from there, the argument really broadens its scope. It moves beyond just the domestic economy and starts connecting this tariff strategy to major successes in global trade and even national security.
And here they draw a really sharp contrast when it comes to securing foreign investment. The claim is less than $1 trillion was secured in 4 years by the previous administration, compared to over $18 trillion in commitments in less than 1 year under the new policies.
And we're talking about some absolutely colossal investment commitments here. The op-ed pretty much attributes all of this, from tech and auto to pharma and energy, directly to the negotiating power that the tariffs created.
And then, in a pretty remarkable pivot, the author connects all this to national security, making this incredible claim that the economic strength from tariffs was actually a key tool in settling major international conflicts.
So there you have it. It's a powerful, data-heavy case. But right below the article, in the publication's own comments section, a totally different story starts to unfold. Yeah, the reader response was, let's just say, swift and pointed. A lot of commenters use the platform to directly challenge not just the facts, but the entire framing of the op-ed.
One of the most common things you see is just this flat-out rejection of the article's tone. This reader, for example, likened it to state-run propaganda, basically suggesting the whole portrayal of reality was completely one-sided.
But it wasn't just about the tone. Other readers went straight for the data. Take this one commenter, who challenged that 1.4% inflation figure by pointing to a Bureau of Labor Statistics report. That report showed the All Items Index rose 2.7% over the same period. Their conclusion? The numbers just don't match up.
And then you have another reader who just fires off this series of really pointed questions that seem to completely contradict the whole narrative of a booming, tariff-driven manufacturing sector that the article is trying to sell.
Those national security claims? Yeah, they were also met with some pretty direct skepticism. This commenter, for instance, just bluntly questions the whole assertion about settling 8 wars in 9 months.
So, where does that leave us? What do you make of all this? You've got one single document, an op-ed and its immediate feedback, that presents two starkly opposing views of reality. And both sides are claiming to be based on facts. On one side, you have this detailed argument for a historic success, this American economic miracle. And on the other, you have a wave of criticism calling the very same piece an absolutely moronic rant of lies.
The author wraps things up by basically throwing down the gauntlet, challenging any tariff skeptics to just admit that Trump was right about everything, framing the economic data as undeniable proof.
But so many of the readers land in a completely polar opposite place. They suggest that these exact same policies have actually led the country into a hellhole of economic hardship, cronyism, and just swarming national debt.
And that leaves us with this final, really crucial question. It's not just about who's right or who's wrong here. It's about how we're supposed to interpret information when the text itself and the direct response to it are in such fundamental conflict. What does that tell us about the story being told?